Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Planes, Trains, and Comic Books channel. I'm Matt, and today we're going to review Berserk, the Golden Age arc. And before we get into that, if you guys wouldn't mind sharing, subscribing, and also let you know, we are still running our 100 subscriber giveaway for Comixology gift cards. So if you guys want to enter that, all you got to do is comment down below, and you can comment in any video from our Monsters video forward, and just make sure you're subscribed, and you guys will be entered. And we will pick that winner in the next coming weeks. So with that said, let's get into it. We're talking Berserk, and this is the Golden Age arc. Now, I previously have reviewed the first deluxe volume of Berserk, which actually covers the Black Swordsman arc. That is actually in the future from this Golden Age arc. So it starts after the Golden Age in volume 1, then it comes back and tells you how we got there, kind of thing. So if you're reading the deluxe volumes, the Golden Age arc is volume 2, 3, 4, and the beginning of 5. And I'll say the reason it's called the Golden Age arc is because this is like the good times arc. Because if you read the Black Swordsman arc from volume 1 of the deluxe version, you will know it's pretty dark and grim in that future world. So this is how we got to that future world, and it is definitely a coming of age tale of our main character, who is named Guts. I will say right off the bat, this is one of the best fantasy stories I've ever read. It is, right up there with, Game of Thrones kind of style. I mean, I loved as a comic, this is definitely up there with, Watchmen or any of that kind of stuff. Just story wise, I was very, very, very into this. Just really good writing, really good characters. There. And before we get too into it, I will also say this is a very adult book. We're talking about a book that takes place in like a medieval fantasy setting. And I feel like it's fairly true to like the times for that kind of thing. And while there's nudity and things like that in it, that is definitely in here, but it's not like gratuitous like Game of Thrones or something like that, like the TV show. I felt like everything that was in here needed to be in here. It wasn't shock value kind of stuff. So everything that was in here progressed the story forward. It was in here to add to the story rather than tantalize the reader. So it's not just like, ooh, you should keep reading or watching because there's a boob or whatever. It's like, the reason why this happened is because it's going to further the story, going to build on things, and it's going to come up later and pay off or whatever at a certain point. So that was nice, and it was like one of the more mature, and I mean that in like, grown up or like sophisticated, we'll say. It has like this air of, because we've put the time in to build these characters, the story has like everything that happens is in service of the story, that like you are willing to go to places you might not be willing to go in other comics or other media that you might watch. Like I know like in Game of Thrones there was a lot of sexual assault towards women, and that was a thing that like just seemed to be, after a while, in the show at least, that people were like, why is this happening like every couple episodes? Is it just to show something like shocking or somewhat perversely sexual on screen, or is it to further the story kind of thing? So I feel like this book never really crossed into the like we're just having boobs for boobs or whatever. We're just trying to keep your interest because the story is so good. You don't need that to keep your interest kind of thing. And I feel like it treated anytime it had stuff like that, it was for a reason. That being said, the Golden Age starts off pretty fucked up. It starts at Guts' birth. There is a mercenary named Gambino who is riding with his troop. As he's riding, he sees, a bunch of people hung in a tree, and one of them is a woman who apparently has given birth after she has been hung. So there's a baby that is just crying underneath her, umbilical cord still attached, and that is our main character Guts. And so Gambino doesn't really care, but there's a woman in his troop of mercenaries that is riding with them. I think it's probably his lover or concubine or whatever, and she wants to save the baby, so they end up raising Guts just because she wanted to. Um, at some point in time, she dies, and now Gambino is stuck raising this kid he didn't care about. And he doesn't really raise him; he just kind of gives him life lessons on, like here's a sword, figure it out for yourself, or if why don't you try to attack me? And then he'll like punch Guts in the face as a kid and like scar his face up with the sword or whatever, and be like, see, you should get better at fighting or whatever. So Guts is in an abusive relationship from basically birth, and his father figure is this guy named Gambino, who is the leader of this mercenary troop. Gambino is such a bad person that when Guts is very young, he's about 5, something like that, Gambino actually sells him to other people in the troop. So there's this other guy named Donovan who apparently likes to sleep with young boys, and he buys Guts for the night from Gambino. And so this guy comes into Guts's tent and rapes him. Guts has a very hard upbringing in this, but in all of that, he still looks up to Gambino. He wants to be a swordsman like Gambino. He like thinks that's like the ultimate man, like this warrior that he sees Gambino as. And so he, from a young age has started training, with a sword. He even rides into battle with them when he gets older, like even like 8 years old or whatever. It's like he's riding into battle with this mercenary group. And it's funny because Guts in the books later on has giant swords that you're like, that seems ridiculous. But the reason for it, and they give like a reason, is he has always trained with swords that are gigantic for him, because as a child, they don't have kid swords. He would just train with a man's sword. So the sword looks the same proportion as a 5-year-old holding a man's sword as a grown man holding Guts's sword. So everything seems to make sense, somewhat. There's a logic to it that you buy, and that also explains kind of like his drive as a character. He wants to be this warrior. To him, the ideal of man is this, leader, this warrior, this guy who's, a warrior on the battlefield, winning and victory and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of like where he grows up to be. So one night while he's still with Gambino, he's like, 8 to 10 years old, and Gambino gets drunk and starts trying to kill him, and he ends up having to kill Gambino, and that also traumatizes him because he's killed his father, basically, right? Like he gets chased out from the rest of the band of mercenaries because they think, oh, he killed Gambino for no reason. Also in that exchange, that's when Guts finds out that Gambino actually sold him to Donovan. So that's part of what he was yelling at him right before he tried to attack Guts. So now he's a teenager and he's kind of earned his stripes on the battlefield. He's going to battles and, signing up as a mercenary, and then he will take on, the famous heroes that are fighting on the other side and will win. And then, he's building up his name, kind of thing. So he's becoming the kind of man he thinks that he idolizes. Then he gets noticed by this other mercenary group called the Band of the Hawk. And they, I guess, see him out on the battlefield. And then after the battle, they were actually fighting on the other side. Then after the battle, they run into him as he's just like leaving. And they're like, hey, we're gonna kill you or whatever. They try to attack him, but he doesn't really have a problem fighting off the lower guys. But then the Band of the Hawk is run by a man named Griffith, and Griffith fights him like a one-on-one combat kind of thing. And he's basically, after he saw Guts fight, he's like, I can use this guy. We find out later that Griffith's goal in life is to be a king, to have his own kingdom. And he has, in that goal, kind of wrapped everybody else in this band of hawks behind him, like for, you know, helping him to that goal. So he's a very charismatic leader who has rallied all these people to help him achieve his vision. And so he defeats Guts in combat, and as part of that, kind of like a code of honor, he tells Guts, I want you. That's what you owe me your life because I didn't kill you. And you have to do what I say. You have to be with me now on this journey. As the battles kind of go on and he's like, forced to kind of fight with them, a camaraderie builds between all the other characters. So some of the other characters that are in this is the woman named Casca, who is like Griffith's second in command. She is very well respected in the Band of Hawk. She is, like I said, second in command. And she is threatened by Guts because Guts, she hears Griffith say, I want you. It's kind of like Guts is the new hotness, and she's like the old, she's been here, she's the old whatever. She gets jealous, and that kind of automatically causes a tension between Guts and Casca. And then, there's a couple other characters, side characters that either like him or don't like him. And they all eventually kind of build up a rapport of camaraderie. Even if they didn't like Guts, they still can, like, after winning a battle or whatever, like, let's have some drinks. You're okay. I don't like you that much, but that was pretty awesome what you did on the battlefield kind of thing. Basically, you get like the three heads of everything in the Band of the Hawk. You have Griffith as leader, Casca as second in command, and then Guts is like the next highest. So they have built themselves up finally after battle upon battle, gaining fame and acclaim throughout the land. They finally reached the Kingdom of Midland, who has apparently been at 100 years war with the Tudors, as they call them. And there is a kind of like a fortress that the Tudors now hold that used to be held by Midland. And so then Griffith actually talks the king of Midland into letting him lead this attack. And he's like, I don't need anybody else's men. I'm going to do it with my people. And this is all a ploy. Like we said, Griffith's goal is to become king, to get his own kingdom. So in his mind, if we win this, we are low-born commoners that are in a mercenary band. If we win this, they will make us knights and generals, and we will all be now high-ranking aristocrats in this this Kingdom of Midland. And then also he's been kind of flirting with the king's daughter. So in a couple years, once he's been established as this aristocrat who's also like a famous war hero and everything, he could marry the king's daughter, and then eventually he'll become king. And there you go, kingdom for him. So as they win this last big battle, they capture this fortress from the Tudors, and that actually ends the 100-year war for Midland. It's like we said, the day, or it's right after the battle's won, and Guts is like, well, I'm off. I'm going to go make my own life and earn your kind of respect as a friend. I want you to call me a friend. And Griffith is not okay with that. He's like, no, you can't leave. I own you still. Like, you still owe me your life from back at the beginning of the Golden Age. And so Guts and him have a fight, a duel again. And this time it goes much different because, Guts has been training. He's been fighting in battle after battle after battle after battle. His skills have leveled up. So he almost very easily, just no problem, beats Griffith. He doesn't kill him or anything. He just, it's like holding a sword to him. It's like, I won, I'm leaving. So he leaves. And then, in a very rash and uh, unlike Griffith move, not tactical at all, he kind of, I guess, to speed things along, is like, I'm going to go seduce the princess of this kingdom and just kind of get to my goal faster or whatever. So he does that. He sleeps with the princess that night. And then what he doesn't know is he's actually seen, and they report it to the king and everybody. So when he's done in the morning, he leaves. He's captured. He's thrown in a dungeon. The band of the Hawk is actually surrounded, and they're attempted to be wiped out, but Casca is able to rally everybody, and they ride away and hide in the forest. Griffith is now being held and is being tortured for over a year. We're following Casca now and the band of the Hawk. So they're on the run. They're now, wanted, wanted mercenaries or whatever. Everybody's trying to find them and kill them. Guts actually finds them after the fact and is like, oh my gosh, what happened? And this is where we get like the buildup of this romance that has kind of been building throughout their whole relationship, from when Guts first got there and she resented him, to him earning her respect as a warrior, but like now he's protected her. He definitely thinks of her, I don't know about romantically right now, but he definitely is like, they're both growing up. They're both young adults now. Griffith is out of the picture too. So she at one time, and for this whole kind of arc, has had kind of like a wish that Griffith would see her and want to be with her romantically, but he never showed any interest in that. But she was happy being his like sword, right? Now that Griffith has been out of the picture for a year, Guts and her, they actually do get together, and they make love. This actually like impacted me very much, like this scene where he as he's having sex with her for the first time, it's the first time he's had sex since he was raped as a child. And so it brings up a lot of trauma in his mind. He's having like flashes of being raped while he's having sex with her for the first time, and it's actually causing their first time having sex to be very like weird, and kind of like she's like, what the fuck's going on? And then he kind of freaks out, and then they get to have this talk where she's like, well, what was that? Like, what just happened? And he kind of has to explain to her, like, look, this happened to me when I was a kid, and I'm sorry. Like, I just didn't think this was gonna like come up right now. But this brought all these memories back, and this is what I'm dealing with. And then that actually makes their bond like way stronger, because now he's vulnerable to her. He's like opened up to her more than he's opened up to anybody. And so like they both then fall in love even more with each other, kind of thing. So they are now fully in love, and they come up with a plan to save Griffith. They're like, we're going to get him out of that dungeon. And then everybody's like, and we're going to be the band of the Hawk again. It's going to be great. They execute that plan. They get into the dungeon because the princess, who is still in love with Griffith, is like helping them. She's like their inside person. So she lets them into the castle. They get into the dungeon, and they get all the way to the bottom where he's being kept. And when they get in there, is not a pretty picture. Griffith is, like we said, been tortured for a year. All of his tendons are cut in his wrists and ankles, so he can't even walk. He can't hold a sword. He can't like move his fingers or hands. He is completely emaciated, no muscle at all, skin and bones. And his tongue has been cut out, so he can't speak. And we don't actually know what his face looks like, but when Guts actually opens his helmet to say, like, let's take this off for you, and then he's looks so horrified. They don't show what Griffith looks like. He looks so horrified at Griffith, and then he just shuts the mask and puts it back on. So we assume it's super fucked up, because Guts has seen a lot of fucked up things. So they are able to escape, and now they're on the run. In the meantime, I'll say when Griffith first got captured, he had this necklace that he's always had since he was a kid, and it's this thing called the Behelit, and the Behelit is it's basically the Hellraiser box, but he doesn't know that. He found this when he was given this by like a fortune teller or something when he was younger, when he was a kid, and Griffith has had it since up until the moment he loses it in this dungeon. So as they escape, they finally get away from the guards of Midland, and now they're on the run from Midland. And the king is sending assassin after them, kind of thing. They end up getting like to a sanctuary place where they can rest for a second, and Griffith overhears Casca and Guts saying, "Hey." Guts is like, I'm gonna leave after this. Like Griffith is too weak to run the Band of the Hawk anymore, so like I can't see him like that, and there's nothing else for me here. I'm not gonna lead these people, so why don't you come with me? We're together now. And Casca's like, I can't leave him like that. He's too frail. He's too little, or like he's just too frail for me to leave. And Griffith overhears this and basically is like, no, fuck that. I'm just going to kill myself. So he takes a horse and he rides off on his own, and they can't catch up to him for a hot second. And he's able to make it to like this river, and he's about to kill himself. There's a branch sticking up, like a pointed branch, and he's going to like throw his neck down on it to kill himself. Ends up just cutting himself a little bit. So he is looking in the river, and while he like realizes he's not going to kill himself, he sees, hey, my Behelit is right there. That little thing, my necklace, is right there in the water. What the hell? What are the chances of that? And as he picks it up, and like Guts and Casca and everybody kind of finally start to reach him, the blood from him kind of awakens this Behelit. So the mouth and eyes and nose and everything, they arrange to actually make a face. They open a portal to hell, just like Hellraiser. What happens is everybody's transported to this hell dimension, like a tornado kind of opens up, and it takes the whole Band of the Hawk and Guts and Casca and Griffith, and they're just there. And what this is actually like some foretold, like destined thing that happens every 212 years, where someone, I guess, is given this Behelit at a young age, and they are destined to open this gate to hell at some point in their life. And when they do, they are offered the option, I guess, to become part of the God Hand. And the God Hand there's 4 like of these kings of hell right now, or these king demons, and they need 5 because there's like a God Hand, right? So there's 5 fingers of the hand. So they're looking for their 5th when Griffith opens this portal, and that means he's supposed to be this 5th member of the God Hand. And so to become this demon god, or this demon king, you have to have a sacrifice. Once everybody shows up and all the other demon God Hand people come, and also there's just like legions of other demons and everything in this hell dimension. They're like, hey, don't you want to be a king? Didn't you want power and all that stuff, your own kingdom? Well, you get to do that. All you got to do is say, you sacrifice all of them without much hesitation. Says, yeah, I sacrifice them. The ritual begins, I'll say, and these brands fly out. And when I say brand, it's like a symbol, and it brands all of the Band of the Hawk with this brand that says like, you are a sacrifice to demons. So now all the demons that are there, like the legions of demons, they all like start munching down on the sacrifice. So Griffith, who is now in like a cocoon, and he's becoming this new god. As that's going on, Guts is fighting more than everybody. He's trying to get Griffith out of this cocoon, but he's having a bit of trouble just fighting off all these demons. All the rest of the Band of the Hawk that you've gotten to know and like and all that stuff over these 1,000 pages, all of them are getting slaughtered and eaten. Casca is captured and like basically held for Griffith when he's done becoming this god king. And Griffith emerges as this new creature, this new god demon king, this new demon king named Fento, they call him. And he looks much like himself in his armor, except it is all black now. His previous armor was all white. And he has like the same hawk helmet, but it's like more part of him now, not just like a helmet. It's kind of more organic looking. Same with all his armor. It looks like it's more like as part of his body. And he's actually got like hawk feet and everything too, and big wings on his arms. So he flies down as Guts kind of realizes what happened to the band of Hawk, and he had gone down to find Casca and everybody. And there's just like a pool of blood, like a lake of blood and guts, and he sees that everybody's dead. He sees the demons have Casca, and as he realizes this, Fento comes down and sees Casca, and as he looks at Guts, because obviously Griffith knew that Guts and Casca were a thing. He's looking at Guts and he's sexually assaulting Casca. I mean, and Guts is being held by a demon. His arm is actually like in a demon's mouth because he tried to run already and fight Fento. And so he's got one arm in this demon mouth, and as Casca's being sexually assaulted, he actually cuts off his arm and just, continues to try to run. He's fighting as hard as he can to save Casca, and he fails. But fate intervenes, and this Skull Knight, who has showed up a couple times in Guts' life as like an omen kind of thing, he shows up to save Guts and Casca and is able to get them out of this hell dimension and save them from Fento. But the damage is kind of already done. All of the band of Hawk is dead except these two, and then obviously Griffith is now like a demon king. So that's where it leaves us. It leaves us in a super dark place. That is the story of the Golden Age arc in Berserk. Like I said earlier, this is one of the best fantasy stories I've ever read. Like, this is something I could see people teaching in literature class. Or with that, I'm going to give this one a 5. This story arc. Definitely highly recommend anybody who is into grim fantasy or just like really good fantasy stories in general. It is one of the best stories I can think of off the top of my head. So yeah, 5 out of 5 on that one. I would give higher than that if I could. With that being said, once again, if you guys would mind sharing, subscribing, and if you do subscribe, you will be entered in our 100 subscriber giveaway, as long as you guys comment down below. And we'll be picking that at a future date this month. So, and with that being said, we'll see you on the next one.